Hello. Hi, Anton. How are you?
Hello, hello, I'm good. How do you do?
Good. Hold on. Let me turn up my volume a little bit. Now I can hear you better. I'm fine. How's it going?
Oh,
What's new?
what's new? Uh, mm, well, so many new things happen to me, so I just don't know what.
What? What's going on? Why are so many things happening?
Well, I I started to make new product, and it's now I have a very tight schedule, and
Mm.
what else? I mm,
So you have a tight schedule now, but you still have time for English class.
yeah,
That's good to hear. So it's a lot of work things have changed for you recently.
yeah.
Nice. Is this a good thing? Is it positive for you?
Well, it's positive for me, I think.
Good. Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear my students are doing so well. What's going on in the news this week in your part of the country? Siberia, right?
Mm, I'm not I'm not watching news.
You don't. You're not on top of the current events in
Uh,
Russia.
no, I just I keep my information environment without without useless opinions from TV, and I just trying to live without that influence.
That makes
Bec-
sense. Hmm.
yeah, because it's it just it just takes my time, and
Yeah,
uh,
and it wastes
I
your time.
appreciate my time. I don't want to just waste my time on that things.
I see. But isn't there a difference between listening to opinions and listening to facts that happened in the world?
Uh, actually, from my personal opinion and my experience from TV companies in my part of the world, you never see the facts.
I guess
they
that's true.
always they always try to put some political context everywhere. And just I don't like it.
I think this a similar thing occurs in most places, especially in South America and North America. Both happens, but it's sometimes like, for example, the earthquake that happened. If you don't watch the news, you don't know that the earthquake happened. So the earthquake in Nepal happens, and then I don't really. There's not really much political spin you can put on that, except let's save some people.
About such things, I know from social networks and from some news feeds that I subscribed and
Ah, okay. So you are involved in the news a little bit. A little bit. You know the basic events, the big events.
yeah, for example, I know that in your part of the world, just in the near time was a volcano explosion, and I think
Right. Yeah. In Chile, there was a volcanic explosion. But here, nothing. Here, there's nothing going on. Supposedly, well, like you said, the media always tries to exaggerate everything, especially here. So the volcano exploded in Chile, and then they said, "Well, be careful because the ashes, like the black ashes, are going to cover Argentina and ruin everything." And there is not one ash. I have not seen one ash, not one. It was just drama, drama for nothing because nothing happened here. Anyway, let's talk about let's do the lesson today. This lesson is has to do with a story and the art of storytelling. And the goal will be that at the end of this lesson, you can tell me a small story, either about your life or like a children's story that you like to read as a kid, and with the format. So, like making it sound interesting, but still not a long story, just a small one. So, let me ask you first, do you like reading? And what kind of books or magazines do you read?
yes, I like reading. Well, when I was a teenager, I read science fiction, so many books, such authors like Clifford St. Mac, Isaac Asimov, also so many of them.
Cool.
Uh, I just I still have that library of their books. Um,
Cool. What about
I
now? What that was when you were a kid, or still now you like to read like science fiction books?
oh well, on that week I'm reading two books. First book is uh, the Fountainhead by Rand,
That's a good classic one.
um, and the second one I just started. That's also by Ayn Rand. It's for the new intellectual. Um,
Nice.
it's kind of summarization of her her philosophical papers.
Wow, cool. Cool. So you're reading, so do you often read more than one book at the same time?
Usually, yes, because one book just um, start bothers, and I switch between books. It's like when I started learn English. Actually, I'm already kind of kind of tired of learning English, and I started learn uh, Portuguese to just to alternate between languages because
Wow.
when you do something you see things from just one perspective, and it's kind of well, I just don't like it.
I think that's
when
cool. So do you read books in English and Portuguese?
I read books in English and Portuguese. I in Portuguese uh, I just started to learn Portuguese.
Okay.
I only at the numbers.
It's difficult to
So
read a book of only numbers. That's awesome. What makes you want to learn Portuguese now?
mm,
Besides the fact that you're bored with English, which is understandable. Why did you choose Portuguese as your next language?
Well, Portugal is a second country I want to spend some of my future life. I want to live in Portuguese,
Really? Why?
in Portugal. Well, uh, I don't know why. Maybe because it's just a hot country, and because it's in Euro Union, and I actually I like the melody of their language.
I like Portuguese too, but the Portuguese I know is Brazilian. It's really hard for me to understand Portuguese because I've studied. The accent is so different. It's so different. Brazilian and Portugal. Very
Yes,
cool.
I'm aware of that.
All right, good. So when you do read your books, when you read your many different books in different languages, when is your favorite time to read and why?
Before I'm going to sleep, maybe an hour and a half before I'm going to sleep.
Good. So you fall asleep. Do you fall asleep with the book sometimes, or do you read like an hour and then you're like, okay, I finished. I need to go to sleep.
Yes, usually I'm. Yes, uh, I fell asleep with reading, and so sometimes I see the dreams from that book
Huh.
that I read. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, well, that's because that's what happens to me. When I read before I go to bed, I always fall asleep like in the middle of the page. I'm like, I still have like the book in my hand, and I fall asleep, and then I'll wake up and I see that I have the book in my hands. I'm like, whoa, what time is it? It's like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. Good. We already talked about the last books you read. Can you tell me about your favorite book or one of your favorite books that you've ever read in your life?
Well, it's hard to say because it's so many of them my favorite. Uh, Maybe from Russian literature, it's don't know uh, if I'm able to translate in the right way. It's Master and Margaret by Bulgakov.
What is it,
Maybe
Master and?
Master and Margaret.
Master and
It's
Margaret.
well, it's
What's it about? Because I'm.
oh, it's well, it's kind of for you. It's may looks like exotic mystification where about writer and how he um, oh I can explain it.
Well, how about what's the genre? So is it like what kind of book is it?
It's a fiction.
It's a fiction
It's
book.
fiction.
Who's the author? Will you send me the author? I'm going to try to find it.
Bulgakov.
Let me see if I can find it in English. Bulgakov, and let's see what appears. Oh yeah, The Master and Margarita. This is a visit by the devil to the fervently atheistic Soviet Union. Many critics consider it to be one of the best novels of the 20th century. Wow. Yeah, I know a little bit about this book. I have not read it, though. It's good. It's like about Satan. It's about the devil.
Not well. It's not at all about the devil. It's about the people, in in common, about people in common.
Ah, looks good. Looks like a good story. Good. All right, so now we're going to read an old story. But first, we're going to read this little paragraph. And I want you to read it out loud to me, please. And try to think, where would you find this paragraph? Like, would you find this paragraph on a website? Would you find it in a book? Where would you probably see this paragraph? Okay? Go ahead.
The Thousandth and One Night is one of the most famous books in the world. It is a collection of stories first told by travelers from Persia, Arabia, India, and China between the 9th and 13th centuries. In later years, professional storytellers also told the stories in coffee houses in Turkey, Egypt, and many other countries. The Thousandth and One Night contains well-known stories like Aladdin and Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. So people often think they are just for children, but they were originally for adults. This new edition of the Thousand and One Night is fully illustrated and contains new versions of all the stories, translated from the original text by Brian Woodhead.
Okay, so where would you probably find these two paragraphs written?
Well, maybe it's kind of the description of the book.
Look at the last paragraph. That's where it helps you. The second paragraph, where it says, "This new edition of the Thousand and One Nights is fully
No,
illustrated."
I understand where I can find it but I don't know the word to describe it. On the first page of the new book.
Yeah, it could be either like on the front cover or the back cover. That's all we would say, the front cover or the back cover.
Oh, okay.
Like, you mean like the front inside cover?
No,
Or the
outside.
first page? Ah, see, that's probably where it would be best found, right? On the back of the book? You
Yeah,
can see the
on
front
the back of the book and
or the back
front.
cover. Both would, it depends on what kind of book it is, because you know the books that have the paper that wraps around it. Like they have the covers on it. Usually those don't have descriptions on the back of the book. They have it inside because it's like protective. I don't know. But yes, either way, it's on the book. Basically, the answer is it's on the book. Do you know, have you read The Thousand and One Nights at all?
No.
Oh, good.
I have heard, but I'm not interested in such stories. So
You will like this story, though. This story that we'll do. We're doing one of the stories from the book, and it's actually really, really good. It's good storytelling. Okay. So this is a picture of the story we're going to read. Okay, this is an illustration. Let me get this a little bit bigger. So can you tell me what you see in this illustration?
Uh, I see the Khan with his maybe with his wives or just servants.
Good. Okay. Good. So this is the story we're going to read. It's called oh God, Shahrazad's story. So let's read it. Go ahead. There's I think there's 3 paragraphs. Yes. It's small. Go ahead. Will you read the first one?
Okay. There was once an Indian king called Shahryar.
Yeah,
One day,
basically.
one day, King Shahryar found his wife with another man, so he killed her and her lover. After that, the king married a different woman every day and killed her. After that, the king married a different woman every day and killed her the next morning before she could stop loving him. This continued for 3 years.
Okay, so can you describe this king? What do we know about King Shahryar?
Uh, well, we know nothing at all, but that he killed his wife and her lover, and maybe after that he became uh, crazy and
Yeah, he's a serial killer now. Now King Shahryar is a serial killer. How many women did he kill?
okay. It's 3 years and every day, so about a
Yeah.
thousand and oh, it's thousand and oh no. Oh, I can't sing today. I
No, you
have
just give an estimation. It's like 1,000, a little over 1,000, right?
yeah.
Thanks, King Shahryar. All right, go ahead. Read the next one, please.
Shahrazad Shahrazad was a clever and beautiful daughter of the king's advisor. When her father told her what happened and she decided to marry the king, Shahrazad's father tried to stop her because he knew she was going to die. But Shahrazad ha- had a plan to save herself and all the women in the kingdom. The king and Shahrazad got married a few days later.
Okay, so now what do we know about Shahrazad and what do you think will happen?
We know that he is he clever she she clever and beautiful. She is his daughter of king's advisor.
Mhm.
She well, definitely she had a plan.
Good. That's all we know thus far. Good.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
After the wedding, while the king's drinking with his friends, Shahrazad went to find her sister. "I need you to help," said Shahrazad. "Come to the palace this evening and ask me to tell you a story."
Okay. So let's do some true false. These aren't too difficult. Go ahead.
The king killed his first wife. Yes.
Good.
He was married to his next wife for 3 years. False. Shahrazad worked for the king. False. Shahrazad's fathers didn't want her to marry the king. True. Shahrazad asked her mother to help her. Shahrazad asked her sister to help her.
Excellent. Good. Okay, so how do you think the story ends? I want you to try to think of an ending. It doesn't matter if it makes sense or not, but I just want you to try to
Well,
think of a
well,
prediction.
if king kill her, then story then story never begins.
What you're going to hear the ending of the story, though. I'm going to let you listen to the ending of the story because we don't know what happens yet. So what do you think happens? She asks her sister to come to the palace.
Well, obviously she going to tell some story, I suppose.
And how do you think this story is going to help save her and the rest of the kingdom, the girls in the kingdom?
Well, we at the beginning of the lesson we talked about. Excuse me. We talked about if you asked me if I fell asleep with a book, so I think he will keep her alive by telling stories, and King will fall asleep.
That's a really good one. You're actually pretty close. All right, we're going to listen, and we'll listen to the ending of the story so you can hear. Here we go. First, we'll listen to the beginning as well. So we're going to listen to the entire story.
Was,
Ignore this part.
was, were. Recording 2.7. There was once an Indian king called Shahryar. One day, King Shahryar found his wife with another man, so he killed her and her lover. After that, the king married a different woman every day and killed her the next morning before she could stop loving him. This continued for 3 years. Shahrazad was the clever and beautiful daughter of the king's advisor. When her father told her what was happening, she decided to marry the king. Shahrazad's father tried to stop her because he knew she was going to die. But Shahrazad had a plan to save herself and all the women in the kingdom. The king and Shahrazad got married a few days later. After the wedding, while the king was drinking with his friends, Shahrazad went to find her sister. "I need your help," said Shahrazad. "Come to the palace this evening and ask me to tell you a story." Recording 2.8. So that night, Shahrazad was getting ready for bed when her sister came to visit her. She began telling her sister a story called The Fisherman and the Genie. While she was telling the story, the king came into the room. He started listening to her story too, and became more and more interested. Shahrazad continued telling the story all night, but she stopped just before the end and said, "The morning's here, husband. Am I going to die now?" "No, no," said the king. "Tell me the end of the story." "I'll tell you this evening, but not before," said Shahrazad with a smile. That night, Shahrazad finished the story and then immediately began another. This continued night after night. The king never heard the end of a story until the next evening. He couldn't kill his wife because he always wanted to know how each story ended. As time passed, the king fell in love with Shahrazad. He knew he could never kill her because he couldn't live without her and her stories. To show Shahrazad he really loved her, the king married her again. The stories Shahrazad told the king became the stories of the 1001 Nights. Recording
Okay, so how does the story end?
Well,
You were pretty close, weren't you? Your prediction was pretty close.
well, the king was officially first serious addicted. You know that persons who loves TV series.
That's true.
Okay.
Great. All right, so who listens to Shahrazad's first story?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Who listens? Well, think about it logically. Who are the first people to listen to her story?
Her sister.
And the king. This is when the king like walked in when she was telling the story.
Yeah.
Good. Why didn't the king kill her the morning after the wedding?
Because he wanted to know the end of the story.
Good. And how did Shahrazad's plan work?
Perfectly.
It's a good plan, right? Isn't it a pretty creative story? And then what did the king do in the end?
Mhm. I don't remember.
He marries her. He marries her again.
Oh yeah.
Not like a death wedding. He like marries her as a real wedding. Good. Okay, we're going to go over some transitions and connectors since this is the most important part of telling a story is connecting all the thoughts together smoothly, but also very clearly. It's really the key to storytelling is the connection from one thing to another. So we have 5 sentences here that have 5 super common connectors, and I know you know. And all we're going to do is try to put these into different categories. So let me make this bigger so it's not so small. So read each of these and then try to fill in what each, what connector will fit into each of these grammar points.
Should I read the entire sentences?
Sure.
Okay. The king found his wife with another man, so he killed her. The king killed his wife because he found her with another man. While the king was drinking with his friends, Shahrazad went to find her sister. Shahrazad was getting ready for bed when her sister came to visit her. The king never heard the end of the story until the next evening.
All right, so you see the yellow sentences as at the bottom?
Yes, yes.
Go ahead. Now try to match all of these into the spots.
We use because to give reasons why something kept happened.
Good.
Um, we use so to say what the consequence of situation is.
Mm-hmm.
We use until to say something stops happening at this time.
Good.
We use when and while for things that happen at the same time.
Good. And then it gives you a tip there that we shouldn't use while with the past simple. What do we usually use while with? What verb tense?
Some expression kind of at the same time.
But look at this example. It says, while the king was drinking with his friends, Shahrazad went to find her sister. So while is used with what verb tense here?
Yeah.
Was drinking. What verb tense is was drinking?
Past tense.
But it's the past continuous, right?
Past
It's not the past simple. So while is almost always used with the continuous tense, present or past. Like while I am working, you are studying, right? It's like something that's happening, and it can be either in the present or the past, but it's almost 100% of the time is with a continuous tense. Okay, so let's practice now. Each of these 5 sentences, you have to choose the better connector. Go ahead.
Shahrazad's father was very worried when she married the king.
Good.
While she was telling the story, the king came into the room. She didn't finish the story, so the king didn't kill her.
Mhm.
Uh, the king didn't kill Shahrazad because he couldn't live without her. Shahrazad wasn't sure the king loved her until he married her a second time.
Excellent. Okay, so these these are kind of, I made these, so they're a little bit, they're kind of silly, but we're going to try to use connection words in dual sentences with past continuous and past simple. For example, like on the example here, if you have cook and then the phone rings. He was cooking when the phone rang. Feel and work. They felt tired because they were working hard. The idea is always to use once in the past continuous and one in the past simple. Or really, if you can't make it work, just make any sentence make sense. A dual sentence, both in the past if it's too hard. Because some of them are, I found in past classes, are quite difficult to match together in past continuous and past simple. So there's 10 of them here. I want to see if you could do all 10 of them and make sentences that make sense. You have to be very creative.
Okay. Someone read the books when someone arrived.
That works. But you could use like I or you or he. Just use like you can use any pronoun.
Okay. Uh, be right. Be right. Should I use that words as a continuous sentence?
Try whatever you can. Like, yeah, try what you can. But try to keep everything in the past.
Okay. While, um, for example, while narrator was telling the story, I wrote the message in Skype.
Good. 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 That's a good one.
Yeah, and it is true, actually. Uh, Scene talk. Just don't have anything in mind. How do you guys call the opera prima?
The opera.
Opera prima for the main voice in opera.
Like the soprano or the alto. What do you like that kind of thing?
Soprano. It's kind
That's
of
like the singing.
I mean the main character in opera. Or just
I have
just
no idea if there's a name for just the man, the main character who's a man in an opera.
a moment. I'm sorry. I'm just today. I'm discombobulated today.
Don't worry. No, that was a good word as well. Discombobulated.
Oh, you guys just call that opera star.
Yeah,
not
call that because I don't know.
not prima. We call it prima. The main. It's kind of main face of the opera.
Then call him Prima. That doesn't matter to me. Go ahead.
Okay, when operas start um, send sang. Am I right? I don't know.
Say it again. Because your voice sometimes skips. Not your voice, the connection.
Oh, I'm sorry. Um,
Don't worry, skip that one. Do any of these. Do any of the 10 words. I just want to practice doing these connection words. That's all.
Actually, I always I always don't know how to. I know how to make that sentence, but I don't have a reasons to to make them. So I just nothing comes to my mind
Don't
when
worry.
someone when someone asks me to make a sentence with words or just make a sentence.
I know. It's because it seems so like random. I know. I understand.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what I want you to do: is to think of a personal story or a children's story you remember, and try telling it in the past and past continuous. Don't even worry about. Just tell it in the past. And this could be a story that you remember as a child or an interesting story that happened to you in your life. So I just want you to try to think of an interesting story.
Well, I have one story.
Okay.
Well, I was when I was 4 years old. My father bought me a tricycle, and I had fun. We lived and we in a cottage in a house with
Mm-hmm.
staircase with with it was as I remember it was a very long staircase, and on the path of the staircase there were a coach, and one day I just have had fun. My father was at the kamin at the fireplace with his friends. They just did something. I don't remember what they did, and I just I decided to challenge myself and um, and
Uh-huh.
rode down that on tricycle downstairs.
And what happened?
Well, I forgot to say it was a tricycle with plastic wheels. Uh, they are very noisy when you when you rode that. So I launched myself downstairs. It was very noisy. It's just all attention and all was concentrated on me, and how I slid downstairs, and I
Did you get hurt? This is the part I need to know. What happened when you got to the bottom?
nothing. I did a salt over the couch, and I had a very soft landing. So,
Oh.
but
So it
nothing.
was great. It was
But all who watched this uh, this act actually my father got shaking hands. He couldn't speak when when he saw the after he saw that that act.
So you were fine. That's a good story. Well, how old were you? Sorry, how old were you when this happened?
4 years old.
Ah, all right. And you took a header. We'd say there's a good expression that we can say is take a header is when you kind of fall. It's just when you fall. It's another way to say to fall. It's kind of a big fall. So you took a header down the stairs and you landed perfectly.
Okay. I just don't know how to say when you're rolling downstairs. Right. When not fell, but
Because what you're saying, you didn't fall on purpose. You didn't fall because you did it on purpose, right?
yeah. Second, I checked it.
Yeah, I don't know what word you're looking for because I would just say fall.
Oh, my translator gave me the word rolled downstairs, but I
Rolled?
suppose it, yeah, but I suppose it's something else.
Rolled works. It's like the communication is fine if you say rolled, or you could say tumbled, or um, let's see. Give me a second. I'm gonna try to help you find this. You could just say ride. You rode downstairs. Yeah, you rode, like you said.
Okay,
Because if it was controlled, then it's rode. But if it was like you're flying downstairs, then you would say tumbled or fall, take a header.
okay, okay.
Yeah, that's the one I would use. Just ride. That's probably the best one. Good. All right. Thank you, Anton. I appreciate you having patience with me in my lesson today. It was a lot of work for you because there's no other students, so nice work. Get some rest. I know you're having a discombobulated day. And hopefully I'll see you soon. I do another class on Friday. My Friday's class is going to be pretty hard, but it's all about comedy and it should be pretty funny. So, and it's an hour earlier. I'm doing it at 8 a.m. my time. So I don't know if that's time. All right.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Anton. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye.